You're right. Andre has no dick.
Fuck that. All right, you guys ready to do this or what?
I guess
No.
we're live. I mean, come on. Is this going to be a common thing for when Andre hosts?
Hold on, I'm trying to find the intro.
Who's the girl backstage with us? Who's this a common thing?
Shut the hell up.
There she is.
Here she is. There she is.
What is going on?
What up?
What is going on, guys? So welcome to the 4Nerds. As Anthony would say, we are 4Nerds. I am Nickatina, joined by Ryan from Zeeverfett, Dawson from Nerdy Many Ways, and ACS from the ACS Universe. What's going on,
you call
guys?
everybody by their first names, not Anthony.
Yeah,
no,
badass like
Ryan
that.
from Zeeverfett, Dawson from Nerdy in Many Ways, ACS from ACS
Universe. You got to finish it right, man. You got to finish it right because Anthony has surpassed the coolness level that you guys haven't gotten to yet. So he can just go by ACS, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is."
Yeah. I have to put Ryan Zeeverfett because they don't. Nobody knows.
People just call me nerdy. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, nerdy. That's
yeah,
his
that's
name.
true. But see, ACS at the level where it's like when you say ACS, you're like, "Yeah, that's a badass. It's badass."
Yeah,
And when you say, "Oh, that's Ryan," they're like, "What?"
Yeah, but look at those hands, bro.
look at those look at those abs. So guys, what's going on? So we've had a pretty crazy week. We have a great guest coming up later on today with Erik Davis. He'll be joining us. He's the manager in chief of Fandango. So he'll be here, and he's watched a ton of movies and reviewed a ton of movies as well. So we're going to talk about movies with Erik Davis. But guys, Dawson got something cool in the mail. Dawson, you want to show us?
Oh, I got a lot of things in the mail this week. It was a very good week. In fact, the main one I think you guys are paying attention to is this little beauty.
Oh, there it is.
Yes. You want to put me full screen? Look at that.
Let me see, where are you? There you go.
Dark Knight Returns, Mayfex.
Nice.
Got the batterings in the hand.
It's fire.
That head sculpt is amazing. Like this figure's beautiful.
That's so badass.
Yeah. And then I got like 7 books in the mail. I got like 2 other books coming in.
What was the one you got today?
The book? Oh, it was Identity Crisis. So
you gonna show us? You gonna show it to us? You're just gonna talk to us about it.
This is a
You got Identity Crisis? Oh, show me that.
He's having that identity crisis.
All right, I'm ready for that. Where's that?
It falls.
Yeah, no.
The whole show.
There you go. 10th anniversary edition.
Well, whoops.
Why are you?
Andre's the main attraction.
Here we go. Show us again. I fucked that one up. There we go. Identity crisis. They're like, who am I?
How do you hang your wings up?
What was that?
Like all the other costumes and like their capes and the quiver and all that. Hawkman put his wings up. I was like, I'll get back to that later.
Yeah, that's all I need to do right now.
Yeah.
I got to keep my helmet on.
And Ryan will appreciate this. Well, I guess Ryan and Anthony will appreciate this. But I also got these this week. Boom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For a Friend, Reign of the Superman, and Return of Superman.
Yeah, I love those. Those are great. Yes.
Very, very good week. Got a lot of others, but I won't bore you guys with the details.
Yeah, thank you.
Bore us.
And also, Bazinga. Got myself 300.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
So stoked about.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
It's freaking fire is what that is.
It is.
That could have played the clip, but we didn't. So.
You guys are really nerds. Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Hey, speaking of though, oh man, I should have tried to find it. Zach has some comments, man. I can't remember where he said them, where he talked about the Dark Knight Returns, and he talked about wanting to do that in the movie, but without Ben Affleck or him.
Oh yeah, it was breaking news today, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
That up.
Oh, you had to bring that
That's
up.
not really
I
new.
just have to say,
And that's not new either. He said that like 1 or 2
Well,
months
yeah. I know.
Like,
I'm just saying,
breaking
it's prevalent, though.
just so fans are aware. So I saw an article about that this morning, and I knew that information from months ago. But I just retweeted it. It's like, you know what? If anyone could pull off that movie, it'd be Zack Snyder. And then Ryan's like, slash film, really? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Why are you showing?
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
And I was like, dude, I'm just
another
getting my-
tabloid article, periodical.
Nobody's right though. It's like, so for me, it was like, I don't know, 3 a.m, right? I'm getting up to go to work. Ryan is hounding Dawson, like, oh, how could you comment on this? And in fact, if you scroll down, there he is right there. He's already commenting on it. But he quoted it, he retweeted it. And Ryan just get him all kinds of hell,
He
right?
did a deep dive. He was like, I'm just doubling down on this one.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here like, dude, I'm at work. I don't even want to
He's
be
like,
up
how
right
could
now.
you?
Like,
How could you?
I
Slash film?
I
Slash?
just happened to wake up early this morning. I was like,
And so
let's see who I can annoy today.
So I get a text from Dawson, and this is what he said.
Yeah, I'm glad you called. Ryan is being a little bitch again.
I love it.
And
I
he
love
was.
it.
He really was.
Pride, with pride.
Most important question: how could the Leafs let? I don't. We're talking about hockey.
Oh, hockey. Oh,
Muck-
This is not
Yeah.
Canada. We don't care about hockey anymore. All right, let's
Oh,
see.
I have no idea.
We don't
But
care
it-
about hockey anymore.
They're talking to each other about that. Hey, what's up? What's up, Chubby?
We got
What's
Chubby
up?
Teddy up in the house
You
saying, "What's up,
signed
dorks?"
to
What's
W.
good?
Tarun?
We got
Lewis?
Prima up in here saying, "What's up, 4Nerds? Hope everyone's having a good day. Oh, we're having a
What's up?
great day."
Yeah.
So guys, do you think this is
Gavin, what's
legit?
up?
Do you think we're going to see a Dark Knight Returns adaptation from Zack Snyder?
I think we're going to see more movies from Zack Snyder, yes.
That's the fact, Jack.
You can quote me on that.
I mean, that's breaking news, guys.
I mean, if we do, it'll be a while from now.
Oh, yeah.
No. He's got a project that he's working on. He's about to release the information on what I would say next month. Yeah. So
How do
that's
you
the
know
next.
that? Hmm?
Because he said it, and I talked to somebody else today. So yes, we will be getting some new information about another film, but unfortunately, it's going to be for Netflix.
For Netflix.
Netflix, because
That's I don't.
he's got more movie deals.
Well, because we do know
I
that
don't
there
find
is a
that to be
Star Wars.
unfortunate, though.
Right. There's gonna be a Star Wars. There was a Star Wars script
A
that he had
sci-fi.
written.
A sci-fi. He's
Yeah,
changed
he
it.
kind of he adapted to another, kind of changed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more of a samurai story, but set in space. So, for all
Like
intents and
based on
purposes,
Seven Samurai, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
So essentially, he could be creating his own Star Wars if you think about that. And now
I
that's
think
pretty
he's
insane.
just a universe builder, and he's just going to continue to create these universi.
Shut up, bitch.
I'm not
when
done talking
he's
yet.
Done creating the universi.
Yeah, I'm glad you called. Ryan is being a little bitch again.
And when he's done with it, it'll be his opus, and
Opus.
and that will be
Maybe, and then he'll release the omnibus.
omnibus.
He'll back up the omnibus. He'll back it up on Warner Brothers.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
So let's talk about that real quick, you guys. So last night he was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, not Stephen Colbert of Screen Rant, but Stephen Colbert, and they the
how do
whole
you pronounce it, and how do you know to pronounce it different when it's spelled? Is it spelled the same? Am I
It's spelled the same,
incorrect?
but
Spelled the same, so how do you know to
I have
pronounce it one way or
auditorily
the
heard him say his name,
Okay.
Stephen Colbert. You think I'm just
Okay,
making
okay.
that up? I'm making that assumption.
other? I think you are.
Yeah, it's cool.
Anyway, he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is the Late Show host is saying his name wrong.
No,
No.
no, we're not. Anyway, continue.
Okay.
on, Gary.
Somebody's got it right. It's like
Oh, guys.
William Dafoe.
William Defoe. Ever seen How I Met Your Mother? Okay, never mind. All right, so let's take a look. So Zeeverfett set the actually had a good tweet that got a lot of traction. Normally his tweets don't go anywhere.
Normally
But
they don't.
Normally
That
they
is
don't.
true. Normally
but today he had one that it made some headway. Let me see if I can find it though. It's already buried.
Normally,
in
when
timeline.
I tweet just for us, because it's not going to go beyond us.
And even then, I don't like it.
Yeah, he doesn't like it because he knows I'm gonna hit him up at 5 a.m.
Okay, so here is that tweet, and check it out when you get a chance, guys. When we come back on, you'll see it. So they really did bounce us.
Yeah, stream unavailable.
Wow.
It'll be back on.
It'll be back on. So,
That's some. Well, but they don't even own that shit, so they couldn't have done anything.
who knows?
Yeah.
Everyone's like,
Oh,
no.
F. Oh shit.
No, that's hilarious. I love it.
Oh well.
I
Oh
love
well.
it. Zach's just like, we need more action. So I threw a knife at Steven.
And he slow mo's the knife throw.
Yes.
Like, he flashed it, but really didn't. He just got stabbed in the leg.
Hey, you know what's funny is that when it got to the nightmare sequence, that's when we got pulled.
Oh, interesting.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Because WB
Yeah.
is trying really hard to not let anyone use like their content whatsoever.
Well, it's not
especially
WB
that
UK. It's WB USA.
WB USA. They're the ones that suck.
Especially that particular version of the nightmare sequence where Colbert's standing there in the
Looking like a freaking caterpillar.
yeah.
He reminded me of the mole from Incredibles at the end.
Oh my gosh.
What was the name? It was his
The Underminer.
The Underminer. Yes.
The Underminer! Apparently, no one can see us right now, so we can say whatever we want.
Yeah, it's still
still
stream
down?
unavailable. Yeah.
Wow.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Hey,
There
put
you
the Are you on Twitch right now, right?
No, we don't have a Twitch set up.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, we don't. Yeah, you're right.
Austin didn't want to do one. He said
Yeah,
was
he didn't.
against it.
He was against it. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that. He was like, no.
I didn't think we'd get dropped for fucking Colbert on screen with some goggles on. They were just like, no.
Yeah.
I guarantee, that is 1,000. Oh, here we go. We're back.
Oh,
Okay.
we're back.
All right,
Okay, so
we're back, guys.
it was probably because
Welcome
of the
back to
WB
the show.
scene,
Well, thanks for
because
joining
of
us.
the nightmare sequence. I'm sure WB was like, "Hey, pull it! Here, there goes a Snyder's cut. We gotta
That thing
kill
is
it.
supposed to be finished.
How dare they?
It's supposed to be a cul-de-sac."
Yeah, there's
It's
yeah.
nowhere.
They don't want that. You know what? If you could have clipped it, but clipped out that entire nightmare sequence, we probably wouldn't even got pulled because it belongs to Paramount.
But-
All of that shit.
But
Yeah,
still, we're back now, and so,
We're back. So
it's
let's
a funny
continue.
segment. It's a funny segment. Definitely check that out.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
obviously,
Don't check it out
Fire.
here. Don't check it out here, though. Check it out
No, can't do that.
on the YouTubes or on the
On the
Twitter
Twitters.
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 yeah.
sphere. What you guys want to tweet out again? Like, hey, we're back on again because
No.
everyone just took off.
Oh no.
There's 16 in here. That we're doing well.
We're doing well. We're doing well. We're doing well.
They have become accustomed to
This kind of stuff.
the way the YouTubes do.
Yeah,
When
well,
it comes
especially if you watch World's Finest. I mean, you guys have been taken down like how many times already?
Dude, fucking, we just get taken down. We hadn't got taken down in a couple weeks though. We've been as far as the content now. You're gonna take somebody down for like
Now we can't see second. We're here.
No, we can see it.
It's right here.
Yeah, Second Warner Brothers.
And
Yeah.
speaking of which, you guys, let me see. We also have this that I wanted to show you guys. So this is a chart. Whoops. This is a chart that shows HBO Max over the past year and how it's climbed in its subscriptions.
Mhm.
So here it says 11.1 million.
Oh, so now they can calculate numbers.
Yeah, now they have numbers. And on here, in this little fine print right here, it says Zack Snyder's Justice League. And this is all in alphabetical order. That's why it's at the bottom.
Yeah,
Mm.
popular originals.
Popular originals. Yeah,
Yeah.
Zack
Let's
Snyder's
put it in
Justice League.
alphabetical
Well,
order. to
that's
make-
why they did that. They were like, Z? Oh, he did that to himself. Put him at the bottom.
Put him at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, wasn't our fault.
Take it to the
Well,
bird.
yeah.
So, but I mean, at least they're, they're showing that, hey, look, this did make a difference for our platform. But if you look at the quarters up above, right here, here's quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4, and quarter 1 of the next year. It steadily climbs up each quarter by 3 million, by 2 million, by 3.5 million, by 3 million. So it was steadily climbing up, and I kind of feel like what they're showing here is like, hey, look, you didn't see a huge jump.
Mhm.
But I mean, a lot of these subscriptions wouldn't be there if this title right here was not going to be coming out.
Because a lot of subscriptions from the get-go were because they announced the Snyder Cut.
They announced it, and they got those
from the get-go, but then also from Wonder Woman 84, there was already people who wanted to see both of these movies, so they went ahead and bit the bullet and subscribed. Yeah,
like the night or the day that the Snyder Cut was announced for HBO Max, I subscribed. That's
exactly.
I was one of those.
And you wanted Tom and Jerry. We three know this.
I still have yet to watch that movie.
You haven't watched it?
No, I probably never will.
I tried to watch it with my kids, and it wasn't all that great.
It's okay.
I have zero desire to watch it.
I will.
Now I know you're lying.
There is a show on there that's fire.
That's fire.
Which show is it?
It's fire. The Kate Winslet show. You get a chance, watch it.
Are you talking about Titanic?
No.
Titanic?
No. Jesus Christ. It's Kate Winslet's show on HBO Max. It's called Mayor, and damn, I can't remember what it's.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
Or don't watch it.
This is another tweet that Ryan from Zeeverfett that he put out there that actually it also caught some traction as well. And I thought, hey, if it works for Ryan, let's put it out there and let's talk about it on the show. And that tweet is this right here, where it says, "See the Justice League in action in Zack Snyder's Justice League on 4K Blu-ray digital now." And this is Ryan's favorite, Warner Brothers UK, that have been very supportive
they haven't
of the
been
Snyder Cut.
douches.
And down here is a video that I'm not going to play. I'll play with no sound. And like they actually have a trailer for the 4K release of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
But you'll never see this coming from Warner Brothers Pictures from the USA. No, hell no.
Warner Brothers USA put it out at the end. You would see thanks, to Joss Whedon.
For all your hard work.
Yeah, for all your hard work and
You're put
dedication.
in a possible situation that it wasn't your fault. It was us.
Yeah, it wasn't you. It was us.
Jacob's right. Tom and Jerry was boring. It wasn't great. Yeah, it wasn't
great. It was.
Maybe pause the video so we don't get taken down again.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. I'm done with that. Oh, we got taken down now. Yeah, Tom and Jerry's boring. You know what it is too? Is the girl who's in it? What's her name?
Chloe.
Yeah,
Grace Moretz.
Yeah, she was awesome and kick ass.
Yeah,
but like she has to have the perfect role because otherwise,
I don't recall her
not that great
being anything great in any other movie that she's ever done.
She was good in Kick Ass. That was it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kick Ass.
She was good in the Equalizer.
With
Denzel Washington. Okay.
Yeah.
She was okay in that one.
She's forgettable because I only remember Denzel.
Well,
of course.
Denzel's awesome.
Denzel.
5 seconds.
Sorry. I watched Training Day yesterday again. And I was like, I remember that. I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Training Day's fine.
I'm glad you can remember things like that.
Yeah, it's always good to go watch older movies as well.
Yes, indeed.
Well, Ryan was born when all those older movies were brand new, so it makes sense.
I was born in the 90s.
Huh.
In the 90s, my ass. Or like the late 70s. Ryan's like,
You blew my cover!
Ryan's like, I'm going to kill you later.
I was born later.
You will die.
but seriously though, I mean, we're seeing that Warner Bros. UK is being very supportive of the Snyder Cut because, I mean, obviously they don't fall under any kind of, it's not like one of those pictures in the USA is telling them not to do this. I mean, I guess they have the autonomy to do and promote what they want to promote, and they know that by promoting this is how they're going to make money off of it.
Make money off of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's and USA would be making a hell of a lot of money off of it too if they played ball instead of acting like douches.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hashtag second Warner Brothers. So yeah, I mean,
hashtag second Warner Brothers.
It took an employee of Paramount to make that hashtag, take off. And I'm curious. It's like, was that even trending? Because it should have. That's the one hashtag that should trend. Right next to Restore the Snyderverse is Suck It Warner Brothers.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I can agree with that for sure.
I mean, do you guys think that Warner? At this point now, we know that Warner Media is being merged with Discovery, so the whole
it's going to be called Discover Media.
Discover Media. Oh God.
Discover Warner.
Discovering Warner.
This Discovering Warner.
That sounds more like an expose. Look what we unearthed. Toby Emmerich has been holding this for years.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, here's the thing too: is that I want to say, sometime this week, Lycast is going to drop the interview where he got a chance to interview the VFX team and one of the stunt coordinators as well on Zach's team. So that's actually pretty cool. So hopefully we'll get some kind of information about what's going on with the Snyderverse. I mean, because to me, there's no way that you cannot continue on with what Zach has done. I mean, he's made such an impression on everybody, and he has such a following that it wouldn't make any sense financially not to continue on with his work.
Exactly. I mean, you've got this month, or this past month, rather, you got Haynes coming out in support of Zack Snyder's Justice League and talking about these things, and TNT has not been nonstop. Subway, came out. I mean, you got these companies that are coming out and saying, hey, we support this, this creative, and we like what he's done here with the Justice League. They wouldn't do that for something that's going down the drain. They wouldn't do, like, oh, it's ending. Hey, let's put some money and some support and marketing perhaps into this venture that's not going anywhere, this cul-de-sac. So, yeah, I can't fathom, any company that would be like, hey, yeah, you know what? Let's double down and put ourselves in that position.
Exactly. Yeah, unless the company that's just simply desperate and wants to bury it as fast as possible, even though they're the ones that unearthed it. I mean, it's again, I've spoken my piece on how infuriating this whole thing with Warner Brothers is. It's just like, how can you be so tone deaf and not understand what your fan base wants? But here we are.
Exactly. Here we are. And also at the same time, guys, I want to welcome our guest of the night. I already lost two of my panelists. There we go.
All right, I'm out.
Yeah, I know, right? So he is a Fandango managing editor. Here is Erik Davis. What's going on, Erik?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up? Good to have you here. How's your day going?
Yeah, it's going. It's been long, man. It's been a long couple of weeks. I just got done a little while ago. I did a conversation with John Krasinski over on Twitter for his Quiet Place movie, and it's just been like a marathon kind of getting to Memorial Day weekend, with the kind of movies coming back and all that stuff. So it's been a long 2 weeks.
Saying the words "I spoke to John Krasinski" makes me the most jealous I've been in a long time. I freaking love John Krasinski. That guy's the man.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I spoke to him a bunch when his first Quiet Place movie came out. And we talked a lot about that. That film was going for like sound design Oscars and stuff. So he and Emily and the producers, they did a lot of conversations around that film. So I got to host some of those. So I got to know him and Emily Blunt at that time, and they're very cool people. They live in Brooklyn. I'm from New York, so I grew up in and around Brooklyn. So we had a lot to talk about. So it was cool to bring him onto this Twitter Spaces thing, which is like Twitter's audio, like live podcast kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we talked for about a half hour, and it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Movie's really good too. So
good. Yeah. No. I don't expect it to be bad. So yeah, I mean, the last one they did was awesome. So I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, John Krasinski had my support from The Office, and then he had the whole good news thing during the early stages of COVID, and I was just like, you know what? You just solidified yourself as one of my favorite celebrities ever. That was great.
Yeah, and he's like that guy too in person. Like that, he's just like that guy. He's just a cool dude. So I'm happy for him. The film's really good. We were just crunching numbers. I do a lot for Rotten Tomatoes too, and I'm like a data nerd. So I'm always like, I look at like the scores of movies and I'm like, well, when has this ever happened again, in history? Mm-hmm. So I was looking like Quiet Place, his first one is 96% and the second one is now 91%. And I'm like, what two horror movies, like 1 and 2, have been that high on Rotten Tomatoes? Because horror sequels typically aren't like rated that well. And I think the last ones were Alien and Aliens and and The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Like that's how far you got to go back to find how this I would
have thought like Conjuring or something like that, because I mean those are pretty decent, and I think they kind of kept up with the you know, the
Quality.
storytelling and quality. But yeah, damn, Evil Dead, that's crazy.
Yeah, Conjuring movies actually, because that was my first thought too. I was like, oh, Conjuring 1 and 2 are good movies. So I went, and both of them are certified fresh, but they're in the 80s. They're not in the 90s. So like the 90s is like that next tier, you know?
Did you look at the first 2 Saw movies and see where they're at?
Saw, believe it or not, but I think every single Saw movie has been rotten, which kind of blows my mind, because that first Saw movie is like,
that was really good.
Yeah, the first Saw movie was fantastic. I mean, they tied up or handcuffed Robin Hood, and he had to cut his own. That was awesome.
I always forget he played Robin Hood.
He was great.
He was great in that movie.
He was a great Robin Hood.
Oh wow, those movies are insanely popular. So that's why I asked.
Yeah,
that first one was. I remember when I saw it, the twist at the end, how like the Saw killer. Yeah, spoilers. You haven't seen the first Saw movie like years now. But the twist at the end was really, really good. I remember it blew me away. I was like, I couldn't believe that's what was going on.
And then you got the new one with Chris Rock coming
Spiral.
out. So.
Spiral. Yeah. Eric saw that too.
I liked it. I actually thought it was kind of good. You know, I was into it, and so. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't gone to the movie theater a lot. So like Spiral was one, like I had maybe was like the second in like 3 movies I had seen in theaters in like a few months, and so I just part of just being back in a movie theater I was like excited about. I was like, that's pretty cool. The sound.
So you had a bias for being out. You're like, I love this movie.
So a little extra credit for like being there. But I don't know. I kind of dug it. I like Chris Rock. I like kind of the way they went with it. There were some things I wasn't crazy about, but. I didn't think it was that bad. I think it's in like the 30s on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's that bad.
Because I heard that they departed, because I haven't seen it yet, but I heard they departed into some, I guess, from some stereotypical tropes that the Saw movies have kind of fallen into over the past several installments. Like they try to kind of do their own thing to a certain extent. Is that kind of how you would perceive that?
Yeah. They kind of, I mean, the Jigsaw killer, it had died in a previous Saw installment. So the last Saw movie was like a copycat, and so this to a certain degree is like that. But they do change it in a way where it's personally tied to police corruption, and so there's that whole narrative there that is just kind of ties it all together versus just somebody being a random copycat. So it's still not the most cleverest of premises, but I think they do a decent job with it.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the shark travel from New York to the Bahamas and chase the family.
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that.
He knew where they were. He could smell them. There's blood in the water.
And Alfred is gonna fly the helicopter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what movies do these days. I mean, recently, Godzilla vs. Kong came out, and the whole thing about when Kong got to his castle is all of a sudden Godzilla blows a hole through the floor, and then all of a sudden all the way down to Middle Earth, and he's like, "Oh God!"
Well, Earth.
He's like, "Watch out, hobbits!"
Yeah. But it was just a quick way of getting them together. Okay, now he blew a hole. Now jump up there and go fight him now. And it was a great fight, but movies tend to do that a lot. It's crazy. So, A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, you actually had a chance to see this movie back in, I believe you said March. Is that right?
Well, I saw this movie in March of 2020. This was the last movie to come out.
So crazy.
It was supposed to come out right before theaters closed down. So they had gotten so close that we had tickets on sale in Fandango. We had done the interviews for it. I was just telling John before, he was the last person, last celebrity that I had seen in person. And it was really weird. Like he was like, I don't know if I should shake your hand. And it was super odd. But so that I saw it then. And then I just went back about a week and a half ago and watched it again in a Dolby Cinema, which if you haven't done like a Dolby, they have their own cinemas, like their own theaters and like a multiplex. And the sound is pretty cool. So I went back and just watched it a week and a half ago. Probably going to go back because one of my kids is dying to see it. So I'm probably going to go back and watch it with her. So yeah, but it's that kind of movie. Like I don't mind seeing it 3 times in a movie theater. Like it's legitimately good. I the second time I watched it, I was studying a lot of his shot selection.
Yes,
I remember I said something like it's very Spielbergian, which I think it is. I think he studied Spielberg, and you could tell a lot of those shots and the way he builds tension in a moment felt very like old school Spielberg. He references Jaws as one of his favorite movies. So so it's fun. It was the kind of movie that I see different things in it every time I watch it.
So any changes? Anything like so? Was it the exact same movie from when you saw it last year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't change anything.
The fact that
this one has Steppenwolf in it, so it's
and this one has a nightmare sequence in it at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
The aliens conquered Earth. Like, oh no.
So you're saying that it's interesting. You said you saw it. So the second time you watched it, you said a Dolby theater, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in adult, so like, oh man, because I've seen a movie in a Dolby theater before, but it wasn't A Quiet Place. So like, what
did you see in the Dolby theater?
Oh man, I can't remember.
Anyway, okay.
It was probably a straight popcorn. I can't remember. I used to watch a lot of movies, but what I'm saying is like, you watched A Quiet Place. Where did you watch it the first time?
Yeah, well, I think they may have shown it the first time in a Dolby theater, but I kind of forgot. Like it's honestly, it's been 14 months. Like the world has been insane. So I remember the theater I saw it at in Manhattan, but I don't remember if it was a Dolby Cinema. But this time I was paying attention because they have this really awesome giant movie palace kind of theater up at the AMC on 68th and Broadway in Manhattan. They actually house one of the biggest IMAX screens in the world at this theater. Wow. Yeah. So they retrofitted like one of the biggest screens and theaters that they have into a Dolby Cinema. So I was paying attention because it was the first time I had sat in it and seen a movie in it. And it was just cool. The Atmos sound was really powerful. And I think like a lot of people going back to the movies right now are going to get hit by the sound, I think, more than anything, because it can shake like a room, you know?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the reason I was asking was because I saw the first one. I'm seeing the second one tomorrow, and I just like in a Dolby theater, like with a movie called A Quiet Place, which if we've seen the first one, we know like the way sound moves in that movie. So like seeing it in that, like what do you hear like twigs pop from like 2 miles away? Like how does that?
It's powerful. You know, it's hard to describe and put into words, but it's powerful, and it enhances your experience of that movie. You know, like my kind of thing is like, look, if I'm going to go see a movie, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to a theater to see it, and it's the kind of movie that would play better, say, in an IMAX theater or in a Dolby Cinema, and people are like, yeah, see it this way for the best experience. Like, that's how I want to see it. I want to have the best experience I can the first time I see it, and then like the second, third, fourth, I can watch it at home. I don't, it doesn't bother me as much, but so that's, so I would say somebody told me that Dolby is the way to see this movie. I went to see it that way, and it was super powerful. So that's what I'm recommending.
Okay. That's got to be one of the things too, is that, I think a lot of us have realized as well, the theaters where I live have been shut down here in California. So when I was in Houston seeing this guy right over here at his place, and of course, Anthony, he was there too. Yeah, I didn't forget about you. We went and saw Army of the Dead. And just seeing it in the theater with the sound and all that, it really reminded you, like, hey, there's a reason why we would go to the theater to go see our movies, because the total immersive experience and seeing a movie like Army of the Dead in the theater, it really made a difference compared to seeing it, at home. We all have sound systems and all that, but there's such a difference when you see it in the theater, the way it was intended to be seen. That was
the first thing I thought about with that movie too. How do you see it? Like I didn't get to see it in theater, so I'm kind of jealous of you guys. Did it really enhance the experience of it?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. It was more enjoyable. It's a good movie, but it was more enjoyable, and of course you watch it multiple times, you're going to pick up on different things. But it was more enjoyable watching it in the theater, in that atmosphere, with these other guys, versus just watching in my living room, picking things out, on my own. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the size of the screen matters. The surround sound that they have built in, that all matters too. But it's like, I like going to the movies, with a good crowd, that, you can kind kind of vibe off of, what everybody's sort of reacting to on screen as they see it, and it's just, it's not a camaraderie, but it's more of like everybody's sharing an experience, and that just makes it a little bit more engaging than just sitting on your couch, watching, whatever it is. And then, you're kind of done. So, I mean, it's just, you're not as invested. I think.
Yeah. And I love seeing it in theaters because I got to see it, was it the whole week, or I guess the 1 week before it got on Netflix. And I actually saw it at a Zeus Digital Theater, which of course is funny just because the main zombie is named Zeus in the credits. So I thought that was kind of unique because, like, yes, I got to see it's a very special experience. But anyway, it's definitely one of those where, like, you got to see in the theater and it enhances the experience, like, for sure, especially like the music. And I was in a theater where, like, there was like maybe 10 people in attendance, just because, like, things out here in Virginia, it's kind of like, a mixed bag of people wanting to get out or not, whatever the case might be. But anyway, but it was the same thing like Ryan was talking about, that camaraderie, that interaction. Like, whenever something would happen on screen, you hear a couple gasps, like, oh, and it's like, see, somebody else is reacting the same way too. This is great.
I remember the opposite of that. I was watching The Dark Knight in the theater. It was the first night. The Joker put the pencil on the table, and grabbed the other guy and went boom, ta-da! And I was the only one laughing, and I was like, I felt weird, I was like, oh no.
Don't worry, if you were in the same theater as my dad and I were, we would be laughing along with you, because that happened. My dad just crying, laughing. He thought it was so great.
That was the last movie that because I feel like the advent of reserved seating kind of changed the atmosphere of like waiting online, like lining up like me and my buddies for big movies. We'd line up like 3 hours in advance because like there were 5 of us. We needed a certain row, and we didn't have reserved seats. And The Dark Knight was like the last film that I remember of that era. And I'm sure there were other big films after that, but that was the last film of that era that I remember like waiting like for like 2 hours to go see that movie at a theater. I didn't have reserved seats, and it's probably wasn't that big at that time. So yeah, that's kind of memory I have of that screening experience of The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Yeah, that's that's a thing. I think. Yeah, you're right. The reserved seating thing is especially post. Well, I don't want to say post COVID, but especially like since things have changed. Look, I live in the state of Georgia. Full transparency, Eric. Like, Georgia's been open for 12 months.
Since they announced COVID.
Yeah, they open right up.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
They wore masks for about 20 minutes. All right, so take it off. We're done.
That's one of the good things, because I think Andre, this was your first time, right?
What?
In a theater watching a movie.
Oh, for a while, yeah. I mean, the last movie I saw before this was I can't remember.
See, I saw Tenet in theaters. Like,
I couldn't even see Tenet.
Yeah, I saw Tenet. I saw Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters and Tenet. Like,
couldn't see any of those.
Nice. Well, that sucks for you, Andre.
It does. I was like, man, this is BS, man.
Really suck.
And then I tried to watch Tenet on the plane, and that was a bad idea. I turned it off. I was like, no,
you can't do that.
The sound was like.
He was asking the stewardess or the flight attendants and
for better headphones. He's like,
how is this?
Do you have any Bose headphones? Beats by Dre.
Well, see, Tenet is actually interesting. My family went and watched it. My family lives in Richmond, Virginia, and apparently the theater they saw it at, like, the sound was like really weird and actually kind of drove my mom and sister nuts a little bit.
I think Tenet was just horrible with sound. I think the mixing was bad.
Okay, so it wasn't just them.
Time. Yeah, no, I had a horrible time.
Eric, I'm sure you've
what
seen
the hell
Tenet.
did he just say? And it was just like it was overwhelming at times. I was
like,
oh,
what were your thoughts? Okay, so first, let me ask you. I know you did you see Tenet in theaters and as opposed you did? Okay,
yeah, so I drove 2 hours to Connecticut because New York State theaters shut down for a long while. So Yeah, so I went to Connecticut to see it, and it's funny because they were giving people from it was Smarter Connecticut at that time. They were giving people from New York and New Jersey who had driven to Connecticut to the movies. They were giving them like free candy and stuff like
Oh
that.
wow, I would have been right there. Like,
That sounds a little
was like,
weird.
all right,
You want some
all right,
candy?
Connecticut.
Come watch a movie.
you want some milk duds? Here we go.
I was like, Connecticut knows their business. They know what
Bring
they're
up the
doing.
candy apples.
But yeah,
Sour Patch Kids. Yeah.
I liked it. And speaking of the Dark Knight, like that opening sequence of Tenet reminds me very much of that opening sequence
Yes.
of Dark
Yeah.
Knight. It's got that same kind of like intense, like ticking time, like that vibe to it. And it's got all kinds of layers to it, and it kind of peels back. So I love that opening. The movie itself, I thought was good. I haven't gone back. I watched it twice. I haven't gone back and watched it a third time. I'd like to. But I like it. It's brainy. It's definitely big brainy, like he likes. And I think the action is good and the spectacle of it is good. I had decent sound in my theater, although the dialogue was a little bit hard to manage.
Yeah, that's I think that's what most people. Yeah, when they say the sound, I think they really the dialogue. So the second time you watched it, was it like in your house or like?
Yeah, it was in my house. It was better. It was better, and it's hard sometimes because the sound is powerful. Everybody in the film has like an accent, and so sometimes
yes.
Yeah, you're like, what are you saying? What? Oh, can I rewind it? Oh, I can't. Oh,
yeah, but that's the best. Sometimes I think that's what's good about it. That's what's good about a movie, though. Sometimes, like when it comes out into theaters. And you can't watch it at home for the first time. You can't like overanalyze it, And sometimes I think if you can overanalyze a movie right from the get-go, it's never gonna achieve like the kind of like super memorable status, than the first time when it kind of can wash over you. I think like that's important. And I feel like that first time a movie washes over you, you're not picking it apart and looking at all of its like faults. You're kind of just going with the vibe that it gave you the first time you saw it. And that's kind of what's going to stick with you. So I don't know, that's my feeling on it though. But yeah.
I agree. I think that's one thing that I think that our culture is kind of missing out on now is being able to just go and experience a movie, let a movie take you somewhere that is not where you currently are. And there's a couple movies recently, or I guess in the past couple of years, that have really achieved that. One of them was Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. My dad and I went and saw that, and my little brother as well. We went and watched, and that was one of the few movies we'd seen in a long time that really just kind of took you away and completely transported you somewhere else entirely. When a movie accomplishes that, I think it accomplishes what it wants to. It accomplishes what it needs to entertain you, to fill your time for a couple of hours, and to really make it enjoyable. And I think a lot of times people today have a hard time doing that. A lot of people are doing, as you're saying, Eric, that people will come in and just kind of overanalyze things and not allow themselves to enjoy it, instead of just simply sitting back and just trying to catch the vibe of the movie. I think that's a lost skill, which sounds like it'd be easier to do than analyzing everything. But for some reason, for people nowadays, it's not for some reason.
Yeah. Well, because we're so used to being on our phones constantly. And multitasking and doing like 4 things at once, texting this one, following this thread here, watching this video here. And so I think when we go to the movies, it kind of forces us, we're still checking our phones here and there if we feel like we're in a spot where that's allowed. But I feel like it still forces you to say, all right, I'm going to put this away for a little while. I'm going to focus just on this thing. And so if it does its job the way it's intended to, then you are primed to be taken to that next level because you've gotten rid of all of these other distractions. And I feel like when you're watching something at home, you got the phone there. I do. I have the phone there. I'm like flipping between this and a sports game. I'm not like, my mind is just not. So it had that thing that I'm watching has to work like extra hard. To like keep me with it,
Especially if it's on TV at your home. I mean, there's so many distractions that can pull you away. And, it's funny because we were talking about The Dark Knight. I remember the second time I saw The Dark Knight, because my wife hadn't seen it yet, we went and saw it, and I enjoyed the movie, of course. But what I didn't know is that from her position, like her next to me, I guess there was a girl who was sitting directly in front of me, so I couldn't see it. And she had her phone out the entire time, and she was texting. So the light was on from her phone, and my wife could see it the whole time. She was like, dude, all I kept staring at was her freaking phone. was like, well, you should have said something. But these movies, that was one cool thing about Army of the Dead I found, is that we kind of all allowed ourselves just to kind of watch it and have a good time with it, and just kind of let ourselves be immersed in the movie. And it was such a fun movie. And I wanted to ask you, what was your take on Army of the Dead?
Yeah, I dug it a lot. My initial reaction to that movie, and I like it more honestly. Like, I look at Rotten Tomatoes a lot. I work with those folks, and so I don't agree with the critics on this one. I don't agree with the audience on this one either. Like, I think both scores should be higher on this film, because the vibe. Like, I was a guy that grew up with a lot of 80s kind of ensemble ragtag group kind of movies, your Armageddons, your sort of misfits are put together to take on an impossible task. And there's crazy like blood, and there's wild, memorable moments. And so like when I watched this film, it really felt like he had merged these genres and then kind of created this throwback to those kinds of like maybe like late 90s kind of ensemble sort of action movies. And that's what I really loved about it. And I also love he's very good at building mythology and sort of putting in pockets of things that he can spin off into different ways. Yes. That's something that he tried to do with DC. I think really he saw it too. He saw the sort of that cinematic universe like Marvel was seeing too. He saw the pieces of it and how it could work in cinematic form. And so he's somebody that comes in with something and immediately understands how it could become a big franchise. And that's something that Netflix really wants right now, right? That's they're Netflix. Everybody has Netflix, but Netflix doesn't have like that, what they say IP, that intellectual property, that like those DC characters, like Marvel, like they don't have that. So and they're not necessarily as interested in going and buying them. They're more interested in developing new ones, which I think is really cool. Because we watch so many legacy franchises right now that it's great that they're looking to say, let's get the right people and build new franchises. And so I think it came together at the right time. I think Zack Snyder was looking for somebody to be like, look, we get you. Go make something that you want to make that's really cool. But keep in mind, we would love this to become a much bigger thing. And everything you wanted to do with that whole DC thing, well, you know what? Just put it into this thing, and we got the money. Yeah. We'll fund you. Go do it. And so I think when a creator is told something like that, and he's got a nifty idea, and he's got people that's got the money to fund it, and they're like, "You do you," I think you're going to get good results. And so, I dug it, and I'm excited to see what else they do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the world building, right? I think that's the main thing that. I think most people, even if people that are not fans of Zack Snyder out there, I think most people can at least agree that he's great at world building, creating that mythology, as you said, creating options for you to see where things can go. Like there's small things in Army of the Dead that I've been catching small things here and there that I didn't catch the first time. Like there's some things that appear in the first couple seconds of the movie that I didn't even notice the first 2 times I watched it. But again, those small things that you can think and theorize to yourself, what could that mean? Where could that be in the future? And I think a great film, at least a decent film makes you ask those questions, makes you think, makes you theorize, because if a movie doesn't make you think, in my own personal opinion, at least to a certain degree, like it doesn't have a whole lot of staying value or rewatch value, in my personal opinion. And so I think this movie definitely has that. And I love that you compared it to like 90s ensemble films. That's kind of one of the things that I thought of too, is that like, okay, this is like group coming together, but they have to face off this undead army like nobody's ever seen, which is a very interesting original take that I find it interesting. I noticed this the other day, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this, Eric. There was a lot of people on social media, for some reason, they were like, why did they have to change zombies from what they were? Go back to the slow and like mindless zombies. Keep it what it was before. And I'm thinking to myself, so you don't want things to evolve and to take on new forms? Like,
well, it's interesting too what Zach did, and I don't know if you guys listened to the Twitter Spaces conversation that we had with with Zach and some of the cast. But he explains, like, he wrote a whole Bible on the zombies, and like there's all these different kinds of zombies. Like those zombies are in this film. Like if you are a classic slow moving zombie person,
they're there.
They're there for you. They're in the movie, and he's got a couple of bits with them, and he's got some really fun kind of just going around shooting them and slicing off heads kind of bits. He's got those for those people. So he understands that. Yeah. The zombie audience, they're going to want what they've already seen before. So we're going to give you some of that. Then we're going to add this layer to it that you haven't seen before. And what I loved is that he took some of these like heist movie tropes too, like the safe cracker and then the cracking of the safe. And it was it was different. It was unique. We had never seen a safe cracker like that before. I liked the little kind of, I don't know if it was like a Raiders of the Lost Ark nod when they were going into the safe and all of those different booby traps were kind of like thought about Raiders in that moment.
Exactly.
And then the way he gets into the safe is like a different kind of way that he gets in that you've seen before. And then the getaway vehicle is always different. Here it's like some like helicopter that's like not working. It's like stuck on top of a building. And like so these like little tropes that we've seen before, he included them, but he made them fresh and different. And so that I like. And if you like aspects of this movie, like the way that they've been before, he's got that in there for you. But then he also brings a fresh approach, and that combination I think is successful.
Right. I think one of the coolest things about it too, one of the characters that were so cool was this guy right here, the tiger.
Yeah,
I thought was awesome. And that was a total CGI tiger. No real tigers were hurt in making this movie, but I thought the tiger looked so cool, and it had a really cool action sequence too.
There was a cool video that Netflix posted about the behind the scenes of shooting the shots with him, and this is just this guy in this all over green suit, just like crawling on a car and just like acting like a cat. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen, but it worked, obviously.
Yeah, and they got real horses. They like the zombie horses are real horses. Yeah. Like if you watch that 30-minute documentary on the behind the scenes, they built like zombie makeup on top of a horse. And I mentioned it in the space, and Zach was talking about it. And it was interesting. They only had the horse for a little while. They had to make it safe, but they had to make him look like a zombie. And so it's interesting, like all of the different things that in the way that they shot this film, I think is cool. If you haven't watched that 30-minute documentary yet, it's just cool, like behind the scenes movie making. Like
it's fire. I've watched it. Yeah, it's really good. It's good.
And I also want to ask you, Eric, because one of the things that people are both applauding as well as things that some people are kind of booing is the usage of depth of field from Zack Snyder's cinematography here, because he utilized that, of course, in the nightmare sequence at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League in the epilogue, and he transitioned that into, or I guess he pretty much shot Army of the Dead first, but he really utilized that depth of field to where it like kind of fades out, comes back into focus. Do you think that's going to be something that a lot of the filmmakers will utilize from here on out? Or I guess another question would be, do you think that worked for Zack here?
I mean, I think it's his thing. It's his style. I hesitate to say that it's something that does or does not work. I think it's something that makes it a legitimate Zack Snyder film. And it's either something like, if it's something that it turns you off a little bit, then okay, maybe that aspect of it turns you off. But this is part of his artistry, and this is the way he's telling the story. So, but yeah, I mean, I imagine.
Gosh, warn us first, Andre.
Yeah, right. For some people, it might throw them, But I also think that there's something fun about that too, when a director is kind of throwing you stuff that you don't necessarily see every day. I don't know. I think that's part of like the art form. I think that's part of differentiating yourself from everybody else making these kinds of big movies. So I think if he wants to do it, then go for it.
Yeah. I also think it's incredibly anytime I see it, I don't know, Eric, like how you feel when you see, because obviously you talked to Zach, but like when you see like, the 30-minute special from Netflix about, making an Army of the Dead, or these shots. When I see the director holding a camera and he's holding it for whatever, I mean, what was it, 15, 16 hours a day, just doing all the work, that shit's, to me, that's fire. Like that's something to me that's like, besides the fact that I'm already a Zack Snyder fan, but like seeing a director also be director of photography, that's, that's another level, man. And the shots he got from this movie is, I hope, things keep going and he gets to keep making these movies. I hope he continues to be behind the camera.
Yeah, that's pure filmmaking.
Yes.
Pure filmmaking right there.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of filmmakers that tend to be controversial, I know you posted about this earlier this week, or it was a couple days ago or something, but there's the new film coming up in this summer from M. Night Shyamalan called Old. I've only seen like the first 2 trailers about that. But I kind of want to know your expectations of that movie, because like obviously we're given very few information or very little information about what's going on. All we know is like
the poster dropped today. It was creepy.
Yeah, the poster's freaking creepy.
Yeah, pull it up, Andre. Pull it up.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. It was too good. The Jungle Cruise poster is pretty cool too. Kind of
it was.
Like piratey a little bit, like classic Disney. But this is a cool poster too. It's freaky. It kind of it tells you sort of what this is about. It's summertime. It's a gorgeous beach. They're on vacation, but people are like aging rapidly for some reason.
I love that it says a new trip from M. Night Shyamalan.
A new trip.
A new trip.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So which is drugs.
So have you seen Old yet, or
not yet? No, I haven't seen this one yet, but it looks good. Yeah, I'm the kind of guy that doesn't kind of judge M. Night Shyamalan from like 1 or 2 or 3 films that maybe I don't feel are as successful as they could have been. Like I think he's real talent. I think he's real deal. I think he's got a lot of really great ideas, and I think he executes them most of the time. And so, like, I wasn't crazy about Glass. I love the one that came before it, Split. I mean, I love Unbreakable. I think Unbreakable is one of my favorite movies.
Dude,
so so he is real deal. He has it. Just it doesn't always manifest in the way that maybe we want to, But so I look at this and Old, and I say it looks cool. Looks very much like him. This is a very M. Night kind of movie. So I think it'll be creepy. It's got a cool cast. So so yeah, we'll see. It's different. It's different from everything else around it.
Yes,
Yeah, that's very.
That's the thing with M. Night Shyamalan is that he hits on some good movies that are really, really good. And then there's some that just don't hit very well. I think one was like Lady in the Water. I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah.
The Happening. I thought it kind of missed on some spots. It was
my wife to this day refuses to acknowledge the existence of the Avatar: Last Airbender movie. Just because she's a huge fan of the TV show.
That's another one. Like, he went after that, and that didn't really work out as well. But obviously, like I was saying, movies like Signs, I thought was really good. The Sixth Sense, it was an extremely good movie.
Sixth Sense was good,
yeah. I mean, the guy's very talented, and he has the capability of making some very unique stories. So I definitely think that Old, it looks like it's pretty cool.
It's interesting too about him that he reminds me of Zack Snyder in the way that both of them work with like the same crew all the time. And like M. Night's crew is all in Philly, and he tries to shoot as much as he can in Philly. And he always works like with that same tight knit group of people that have been with him for like everything. And Zach is the same way. He shoots it himself. He directs it. He works with these same crew of people that he's been with. And I think that really does show in a film when everybody kind of knows each other and they've all been.
And everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. So they remind me of the both of them in that way.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, working with a similar crew every single time, like that just speeds up the efficiency of your filmmaking, right? Whereas on the contrary, if you're meeting new people and getting new crew members every single time, like a lot of your focus is on figuring out how they work and figuring out how you're going to mesh together. Which these two guys, obviously M. Night Shyamalan and Zack Snyder, don't have to worry about that.
No, and they're both artists too. They both push themselves creatively. They make controversial decisions, and they're bold in the choices that they make, for better or for worse. And you want that from your filmmakers, and you want people to back that kind of boldness. And sometimes it's going to go your way, and when it does, it's going to be memorable. Sometimes it's not going to go your way, and then when it does, it's going to go viral on Twitter, and everybody's going to complain. But that's life. But I'd rather the boldness than the mediocre or just the average and the like ho hum. I'd rather see the boldness in either direction.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
So
just nodding like yes.
No, I was looking at something else. No, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely a cool point that we're kind of bringing up there. But I mean, so the other movie that came out recently was Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I wanted to ask you what you thought about that movie, because obviously it took a long time. A lot of us were part of huge, fundraisers and events to get the movie, put out there. It finally got put out there. And Eric, what did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
I was honestly surprised. I'm somebody that's been covering these movies all the way back. I remember sitting in the theater covering the first Iron Man movie. So I've been on these cinematic sort of superhero universes. I've been covering them since they were formed. And so this was something I had never seen before in the industry. We've seen our alternate cuts and our director's cuts and stuff, and even directors that notoriously left a project unhappy, but then kept this footage of theirs. Superman 2, this is what happened with Richard Donner. So it's not necessarily something that we haven't seen before, but on this scale, we have never seen it, this magnitude in this era, this modern era of social media and everybody interconnected. And so I think that if he was successful in what he pulled off, I thought the film kind of just blew me away in a sense that I had no idea that there was that much of a difference between what had arrived in theaters and then what had not been shown to us. And so that really surprised me. It left me with a bittersweet feeling, because I felt like if he was given the free reign on it, I think it probably would have even been better than this alternate cut. I think he was only allowed to do what he could do with the footage that was left over. So I think that there would have been an even better cut of this film if everyone was on the same page. And so that's the shame of it. But I think what he was able to put together, I thought was good and visceral and interesting. And none of us got to see this on a big screen. Some people, I think he did a couple of screenings maybe, but I can imagine what this would have been like on a big screen in a really cool, Dolby, IMAX kind of situation.
Oh yeah, that would have been
Especially
great.
That score.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
But I honestly, I like the Flash more after this movie. I think he actually did them a favor. With this Flash movie coming up, I think he built a greater investment in that people are going to have in this character, having seen these additional aspects and having him been a much bigger sort of part of that film, and also the kind of time travel stuff. He did them the biggest favor ever by putting all of that stuff in and giving them a pass off, to this new movie. So I liked everything that they did with Flash. And I love the cyborg stuff. I think that all really came through. So, it's a very successful what he did. I think it's historic in sort of how the fans kind of, made this become a reality. I think, at a time when streaming was become I think the whole story of it is historic. But I do sort of have this bittersweet feeling of it, because I do think that I wish there wasn't so much anger and animosity around it. I wish that he would have been able to do, I think there could have been an even better version of this film had everybody agreed with it. And so I just, it's sad to me that there were these other elements that sort of kept it down. And so, but I think he was successful, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm happy for him that he was able to complete it.
Yeah, and you mentioned all the different things, the ways that could have maybe been better if people had been on the same page. Like one thing, for example, and it's just a small thing, but we know that Zach wanted Jon Stewart, his Green Lantern, in the epilogue of the film. Just small things like that, to where they just couldn't come to an agreement to where they changed it to Martian Manhunter at the end instead of Jon Stewart, and other things to that extent. And also, I think Zack Snyder said at SnyderCon a couple years ago how him and Chris Terrio had the original scripts. And Warner Bros. Was like, this is freaking nuts. They're like, okay, they were insecure because the release of the theatrical version of BBS. And so they're just like, okay, well, let's change some things. They rewrote some stuff. And so I agree. I think if everybody had been on the same page and everybody just kind of bought into the universe, which of course is easier to say now with hindsight being 2020. But I think it would have turned out a lot better. I think it would have been more universally appreciated at this point. Because like now there's a whole lot of misconceptions, like with BVS, the Ultimate Edition versus the theatrical cut, and then Justice League with Zack Snyder's Justice League and everything, like, and also David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Like there's all these different conversations and tidbits that general fans wouldn't know. And so a lot of them kind of get a misunderstanding as to what took place. But yeah, it's very interesting. You bring up a good point there.
Yeah, you know what? What do I think about it? It was the right film at the wrong time. It was big, it was bold, it was ambitious, it was crazy, it was a little nuts. And I'm talking about his whole 3-movie arc of Justice League that I'm sure he pitched to everybody over there, and like, this is where we're going to go. I think it was just at the wrong time. It was before there were these streaming arms. It was before they were really kind of getting a little bit riskier in the decision making that they were of these DC movies, and maybe R-rated content, or I think that there was this element of chasing Marvel and the Avengers that I think got in the way of something that would have gone down as one of the crazier sort of Mad Max, X-esque kind of trilogies in superhero lore. So I think it was just the right movie. It was badass and cool and imaginative, but it was at the wrong time, and the studio wasn't ready for it. And they didn't want to put their eggs in that kind of basket. And so it is what it is. But I do think that there's a future where, with this HBO Max in play, I definitely think DC is going to set up to have a really cool kind of back and forth between their movies and their TV, and what's at home and what's on the big screen, similar to what Marvel's doing now. I mean, how any of Snyder's stuff fits into that, I don't know. I mean, we know that we'll see some of his characters in future things, but I think that it's good that he got to do what he was able to do. It's good that the fans who rallied for it have that thing now. And I guess, if he's going to go off and build a new franchise on his terms for Netflix, then more power to him.
Yeah, because like he talked about in a lot of interviews that he had, how much freedom he had with Netflix. And you watch those interviews, you see how happy and excited he is, how he's just like, they just kind of let me do my own thing. Like they just simply said like, hey, do what you want. There's no director's cut of this. This is the real cut of the movie.
Snyder cut. So.
Yeah, that Army of the Dead was the Snyder cut, and just how excited he is to be able to have that freedom after a long time. Because like when you work with a studio, like for example, Warner Brothers or Disney, there's obviously some things the studio mandates that you do, and there's some restrictions on your creativity to a certain extent. But with this, he didn't have that. It's just like, okay, this is the kind of guy that when he's unleashed, the people who love him will love what he comes up with. People who hate him will probably hate it just because he's divisive like that. But yeah, it'll
be cool. I'm really curious to see what James Gunn does with the Suicide Squad movie and with that Peacemaker TV series, because we're gonna get Suicide Squad in August, and then Peacemaker, like I think in January. So I'm really curious to see what that is, because that's gonna be R-rated. It's gonna be like filthy, and it's Gunn who did the Guardians movies. So he's got a lot of imagination, and he's a really good writer. So I'm curious to see, like, that is really going to kind of set the table, so to speak, in terms of what we should expect to maybe see from DC a little bit from here on out. They're investing heavily in this Batman stuff. They just gave a big, hefty deal to Robert Pattinson, which alludes to the fact that they're going to want his Batman to show up in any kind of HBO Max jam at some point that they're going to do, which I think would be significant too, to get that big of a character going between the big screen and the small screen. We haven't, Marvel has sort of given us their B team so far. Batman's an A team kind of character. So if they decide to do that with that character, I think that's a big power move, and something that I think will be interesting to see how it unfolds going forward.
Yeah. And with Suicide Squad, like, I'm excited for the Suicide Squad movie. I think it'll be very interesting and very entertaining. My only thing is, like, with the Peacemaker show, obviously we all need to see the movie Suicide Squad in order to know if we're going to be interested in the Peacemaker series, because like we have to see how the Peacemaker character does, because like all we know so far is that he makes penis jokes, and that's pretty much all we know at this point. But we'll definitely need to see more before we kind of just get that general idea of what to expect from the show. And before I can personally get excited about that one. But yeah, like the whole Batman thing with Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is one of those guys that like people need to watch things other than his Twilight films.
Yeah.
And then when they do that, they'll be excited for this. Cause like when I watched Lighthouse with him and Willem Dafoe, like I saw some moments and I was like, okay, he can be a good Batman. I could see it. I see it right there. So I'm stoked for him. I really am.
Watch Good Time too. The Safdie.
Yeah, Good Time's a good movie. Yeah,
that's really good. Yeah, if you liked Uncut Gems, like this is the movie that
Uncut Gems
those
is
guys
also
made.
good. Yeah,
they made. This is the Good Times movie they made before Uncut Gems, and they're really good. I'd love to see the Safdie brothers get like some crazy superhero thing. You know, those guys were really exciting in terms of like filmmakers that have like a distinct style and like really know tension and how to build it and maintain it and kind of make you like edgy and sweaty and and feel uncomfortable the whole like they're really good at that. So I'm curious to see what they do in the future.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's awesome, man. And you know what? We have some fan questions that they wanted to ask you. So here's Caden Reed's question. He says, what's his favorite person, producer, director, actor, writer, etc., to interview? And who is someone you really want to interview?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, Krasinski was really cool to interview. Kurt Russell was really cool.
Nice.
He was a really cool dude. We spent like 45 minutes together, and I remember him being a very cool dude. Steve Carell is an amazing guy. Mm-hmm. He's a really nice guy that you can BS with. So John Boyega is really cool. He's a fun dude. So yeah, I mean, I there's a lot of people. Tom Cruise, I've talked to Tom about 4 times, and like he's like giddy, like he is so into making movies. And, like he's actually a really cool dude to talk to in person. So he's been one of my favorites. I mean, Spielberg was a big one for me when I got to interview him.
Was there ever someone that you're going to interview that made you nervous? So you're like that in a sense like intimidated you? Like, okay, I've interviewed a lot of people, but this person, like, holy cow.
Yeah, I was a bit intimidated by Kevin Costner because he was giving me the business a little bit. So I was a little intimidated by him. Spike Lee, I was very nervous about Spike Lee because Spike Lee, he's a New Yorker like me, and he's from Brooklyn, and he makes you work for it. Put it that way. He makes you work for the interview. He wants to know that you know what the F you're talking about, and he's going to mess with you until he sees that in you, or at least that's the experience I had with Spike. But you know what? I think I got to the halfway through the interview and I kind of was giving him some good stuff and I think he saw that, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. So, so be easier on me. But yeah, so Spike was a little intimidating. I'm a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan. So I was a little nervous when I got to sit down with him. And then within a couple of minutes, my kid and his kid were in the same play happening like a couple of weeks apart. So we instantly connected there. So it was one of the more nervous ones that I had, but then it turned into one of my favorites because like we instantly bonded over that we both had this thing in our lives. And then we were just talking about all kinds of stuff. I remember we talked about Punch Drunk Love a lot, which is one of my favorites of his. So Safdie brothers, who I actually interviewed in front of a theater for Uncut Gems. I was a little nervous about that one because I have a lot of respect for those guys. They're also New Yorkers. There's been a lot, there's been a lot. And so it's hard sometimes. I'm just kind of racking my brain, but it's been a good ride.
Man, you've interviewed a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of awesome people.
In terms of who I haven't, and because I know that was part of the question, who I haven't done that I want to do, Scorsese is still on the list. I fought hard to get him for The Irishman, but it was a Netflix movie, and I worked for Fandango, so there was a little bit of a weirdness there because it wasn't necessarily a movie we were ticketing for, so it was a little bit harder. Right. And he's like an old school guy. He does like the really big stuff. So he's hard to get to. So Scorsese is still like the bucket list for me. That's still my top one. And I haven't had that opportunity with him yet.
Like he's not one to jump on a Zoom chat, like, oh yeah, let's do it.
That's not cinema.
No, and honestly, what I want is I want to try to moderate like a conversation with them, and I do a lot of that kind of in New York when they do have in-person events. I do a lot of like long form conversations, like for like awards, or like if awards guilds groups are going to have a screening and they're going to have a director there, like I'll come in and we'll have like a 45-minute, 1 hour long conversation. And those are like my favorite things to do. Because then you could really get to know somebody. You could really talk a lot about their career and their work. So that's what I would hope to do with Scorsese. He's got this Killers of the Flower Moon movie. So that's my next shot. So if you see me with him, you'll be like, he got it.
He got it.
We'll be in this private chat together. We'll be like,
retweet.
Got him. Yeah, he's really it. I mean, there's probably other people that I want to talk to, but in terms of just things that would satisfy like the little kid in me, like the little movie nerd in me, like that, he's probably the last one. And maybe the Coen brothers too, but they're notoriously like difficult, those guys. But I'd also like to shoot the what with them.
Yeah. Just get those two and then you retire. It's like I'm done. Drop the mic.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, exactly. I did the Star Wars. I was like, I remember because Endgame was coming out and then Rise of Skywalker was coming out. And I was like, I'm going to cover both of these movies. And then I feel like it's going to be the end of an era. And then I'm just going to be like, I'm out after Rise of Skywalker. But then like, then the world shut down. COVID. And then I was like, you know what? Well, then I was like, you know what? I'm kind of in this position where I can make a lot of noise when it's time to go back to the movies. And so, I still don't have the rest of my life figured out and what I want to do with the, the latter parts of my career. But I felt like this sense of responsibility that I had this platform, that I work for a movie company that sold tickets, and that would be very much a part of this sort of let's get back to movie theaters and let's remember that experience is important to us in our lives. So if I thought like, let me kind of be here for this moment and keep working at it. But I love what I do. So there's a part of me that'd probably be like, I'll just do this until I don't know, I drop, because
might as well.
I love it,
Exactly. We have one more question here from our good friend Kinky Sphincter. He says,
okay.
What is Eric's favorite movie scene?
God, like movie,
that's a tough one.
That is, because people are like, "What's your favorite movie?" And like, that's a tough one. But like, what's your favorite movie scene?
Favorite anything is like a tough question.
All right,
it depends on the day.
Maybe what's the scene you like?
All right, you know what? There's a movie. One of my favorite movies of all time is Back to the Future. It hit me at an age when I was very impressionable. When a kid riding on the bike. On the back of a car on a skateboard, like I thought that was literally the coolest thing a kid could ever do. And so, I am a little bit older, so I did watch Back to the Future, like when it came out in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
And so, like that was at that time, like that was the coolest thing. And so that Power of Love sequence, going from I'm late for school, shit, and then he goes like on the skateboard. And then like the Huey Lewis kicks in, like that moment to me, that like sort of this is going to be our hero moment. And I was like, this kid's already really cool, and he hasn't even gone back in time yet. Coolest dude.
Blew up the speakers with the guitar.
The rear view mirror shot when the girl's driving the Jeep, the dude's driving the Jeep, and he looks up in the rear view mirror. He's like, he looks back, and he's just like.
I was like, that kid's cool, man. Like he's blowing out these speakers. He's riding to school late on a skateboard on the back of his car. He's got a hot girlfriend who's like waiting for him, trying to sneak him in the back way. I was like, and he gets caught by the principal, and he don't care. Like I was like, this kid's cool. Like, how cool is this dude?
He calls him Slacker.
Slacker McFly.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite movies. That would be a movie scene that, like, as a kid, I would daydream. I'm like, one day I'm gonna do this and impress a girl this way. And fall on my ass, embarrass myself.
Fall on my ass. So we have another question here from Chubby Teddy. He says, "What's Eric's favorite soundtrack, and does he have a favorite live album from a particular band?"
Wow. Ooh, my favorite soundtrack. What is my favorite soundtrack? What did I used to listen to a lot back in the day? It's funny, when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily know that you could buy movie soundtracks. So I had a radio, like a boombox, and I would hold it up to the TV when I would hear music in a movie scene that I really liked. And I would like record it off the television. This is how old school
yeah
used to be. And then I would like record it onto a blank tape, and then that's what I would do. That like I would make my own soundtracks based on like music I would hear in movie scenes, and like I would listen to them in the car, and you'd hear like the dialogue in the background. And I was like, this is so like this is so poor man's freaking movie soundtrack. But what was I listening to a lot back then? I don't know, Ghostbusters, listening to that soundtrack. Back to the Future was a big soundtrack for me, so I have to mention that one again. Batman, Prince's Batman. I remember getting that soundtrack. That's what I was talking about to Krasinski today. I was like, do you have like a memorable movie going experience, like one that you like always remembered? And he mentioned Burton's Batman, going to see that, how it was like just the popcorn had the Bat logo on it, and it was like the first big merchandising movie. And so Prince's music on that I thought was really great. So yeah, I mean those would be a few that I would mention that I listen to. Live album, I mean, look, people probably gonna make fun of this, but I am a Dave Matthews Band fan, and so I've seen him live. I've seen him live. You're from Virginia, right? You might like him. He's from Charlottesville.
Other things.
So I've seen him like 30 times or something like that. So he probably got a live album that I really like. Bruce Springsteen, it's got a couple live albums that I really like too, that I listen to a lot because I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan. So yeah, it would probably be in the Bruce Rolling Stones sort of neck of the woods. I would say Foo Fighters.
Right.
Foo Fighters.
That's like the best live bands I've ever seen is Foo Fighters. Ever have an opportunity to see the Foo Fighters live and you're like, the Foo Fighters, believe me, take that and Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam also.
Wow. I wish I could see them live.
So
I saw Foo Fighters live, and that's an experience that.
Did they play Everlong while you were there?
At the end, legitimately played an entire set that was like 2.5 hours, dipped off like it was the end of the show. People actually left like some idiots. People left, and then they came back out there, did 3 more songs. The very last one was
because they did a slower rendition of Everlong recently at a or not recently, but like in the past couple of years. Where they played it really slowly, and then they played the last chorus, like the actual recording. It's like, gosh, dang.
The way they do it is the way they do it. It's so fire that they'll get to that last song, and whatever city they're in. When they were in Atlanta, they've been there several times before. He'll give like a speech. Dave Grohl, best. Never seen a musician live better than Dave Grohl. He runs across that stage for 4 hours, and it still lives after it's done. Still has energy to do it during Everlong. So,
that too. And also Metallica. If you ever have a chance to see Metallica,
yes.
They were at Comic-Con one year. They had a film.
That's
they had
crazy.
A live film. If you remember. It was like in 3D. They had a film that was coming out. They went to Comic-Con and they took this little ratty ass theater, like this playhouse. It's like a playhouse it's in downtown San Diego, and they put on like a 2-hour show. I remember I was in like the 6th row, and literally I thought the freaking theater was going to fall down. Like that's how much this place was shaking. So yeah, they're a good live band to see too.
Dang, that's pretty crazy. You brought up the recording the album on a boombox. That reminds me of when cell phones were first starting to be able to like record audio. right? And there'd be a song on the radio, and I have to wait for it to get on the radio. Then I'd pull up my phone, record a portion of that, set that as my ringtone. But now you just can go to some ringtone store
Oh my god,
and buy it
Yeah,
now.
that was the evolution of what I had to go through.
Yeah.
So like the next generation, that was your recording it off the TV.
Well,
That
it's
was
crazy
your
too.
version of it.
So like I used to have his Motorola flip phone, right? And a buddy of mine was telling me,
As
he goes,
we all
"Hey,
did.
yeah," he was like, "Hey, dude," he's like, "There's a trick with that where you can get free ringtones." I was like, "How?" He's like, "I don't know why it does it, but it does it." It was a certain model phone. I don't know where it's at now, but he was like, if you go to Walmart.com and you go to like you go to the Walmart store on the phone, and obviously you have to the internet package, and you go into music. There's a section where you can hit preview the music, and then if you hit info on that, it shows you a URL. If you click on the URL, it'll ask you if you want to download it, and you hit download, and it automatically downloads the preview of the ringtone on your phone, or preview the song on your phone, and you can apply it as a ringtone. Oh my god, we were like, "What? This is crazy!" And now it's like it's
Hacking
so much more
back in the day.
Yeah. Now it's so much more simpler, you know. And another thing, Eric, too, is that you were talking about movie soundtracks. One of my favorite movie soundtracks, and I kind of want to ask the rest of the panel as well. One of mine was Top Gun. I think that one just it's so
I had
good.
that on cassette.
What?
Cassette? You have a cassette player?
Well,
I had it on cassette when I was a kid.
We had a 2001 Jeep that had a cassette player. So I had Top Gun on cassette. I had Michael Jackson.
More like your dad had it.
No,
Yeah,
we did. It was my
cassette.
car. It was my car. I had a couple cassettes in my car because that's what we had.
It was a hand-me-down. All right, Ryan, what about you? Favorite soundtrack?
I had just like I had the Prince Batman. I had Back to the Future. I had Empire Strikes Back. Just because I wanted to listen to John Williams. Same thing with Superman. I had the soundtrack for that. So, I mean, because I like John Williams, Star Wars, you know, Superman, all that, you know, E.T., everything back in the day. I mean, hell yeah, I'd listen to all that stuff. And then now I download it now and I'll listen to it while I'm mowing the lawn.
Cool.
There we go. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Everybody else. All of those have
Transformers.
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 Hell yeah. Yeah, dude.
The animated movie.
The animated movie, yes.
Not the
other one.
Bay.
Yeah, I didn't say Bayform. I said Transformers.
It's a
little different.
Transformers the movie soundtrack is fire. I love that one from start to finish. I mean, obviously it was. You know, I don't think the artists, probably most of the artists who worked on the Transformers movie soundtrack, didn't have like maybe not a passion for Transformers. Some of it was just like, yo, here's a stack of money. Record a song where you say Transformers more than meets the eye. They just did it. It is fire.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But it's Star Wars too, John Williams. John Williams there's a lot of music that I listen to while I'm working out that John Williams has composed. So yeah, that's just, you know, that's one of my dudes.
I even had the soundtrack to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's fire.
Well, Dawson, your last one. I mean, what's it going to be?
All right. My favorite soundtrack ever.
I was going to drop something on it.
Yeah, said something like really off the wall.
Well, my favorite soundtrack ever is from Gladiator, from Hans Zimmer. I love that soundtrack.
That's a really good one. That's a really
the
good
song
one.
"Now We Are Free." I play that all the time on my Spotify. I love that song. And also, of course, love the soundtrack to Man of Steel.
Yes.
Star Wars, obviously the Star Wars soundtracks were my childhood. So a lot of Hans Zimmer and John Williams. So those are probably my picks.
Right on. And so lastly, Eric, before we wrap things up here, I wanted to ask you, what movie are you most looking forward to this summer from all the summer movies that are yet to come out, or movies that will be coming out next year? Because, you know, a lot of these movies got pushed off to next year. So what movie are you looking forward to coming out in next few months, if not next year?
I'm looking for, I mean, I want to see the new Marvel stuff too, you know, the Black Widow and Shang-Chi. I'm really interested.
Have you seen Black Widow yet?
No, not yet. Not
my
yet.
Gosh.
Yep. I have not. Some stuff I do get to see in advance. Some stuff they kind of keep it locked down until right before. So there's Marvel movies you don't really get to see that far in advance. So yeah, but that Black Widow movie, I'm really curious to see sort of how this is going to launch their whole phase 4 and what elements of that are going to sort of push the story forward. You know, I know that it's a prequel, but like at the same time, the job of this movie is to also push us into phase 4. And so I'm really curious to see how it goes about doing that. That Shyamalan movie I'm interested in, Old, just because there's nothing really like it coming out this summer. It just sounds cool and creepy. The In the Heights movie, I'm a New Yorker. I'm a big Broadway guy. I've seen it twice, and it's kind of a cheat because I think it's really awesome. So that movie is really good. And beyond that, I mean, into the fall, you know, Dune is something that I think I'm really interested in. I think Denis is another sort of one of these visionary filmmakers that, you know, maybe there's a handful of them right now that are given the keys to like big budgets, big, bold sort of like, we're trusting your vision here. And so I'm curious to see what that Dune movie is like. Top Gun Maverick, of course, Eternals.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to sit down with Tom again for that movie. That would be amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
And so, and then, I mean, into next year, you know, I'm a superhero nerd. So like the Doctor Strange stuff, that Spider-Man movie at the end of the year sounds nuts. That Batman movie, I think Matt Reeves' Planet of the Apes movies are really great. So I'm really looking forward to that Batman movie. So I, you know, all that kind of stuff I think is what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, so real quick question. There's one coming on Netflix like in like a couple months. The trailer just came out like a few days ago. I'm sure you probably saw the trailer. Gunpowder Milkshake. Like, I don't know if you've seen the movie yet. Like, what did you if you've seen the trailer or not the movie? What did you think about it?
I haven't seen the trailer yet. I heard I heard about it. I did not watch it, unfortunately. But I did see everybody tweeting about it. I think it came out on Tuesday. But I have not watched it yet. But I think that they also released images for some Mary Elizabeth Winstead like assassin movie, I think, like called Kate.
She's got
that looks pretty crazy. Like it kind of felt like a Atomic Blonde kind of John Wick-esque kind of
that's
jam.
That's the same exact vibe that I got from those pictures. Yeah,
that looks pretty cool. So I'm curious to see. I'm you know, Netflix is really trying to make a play at these bigger sort of blockbuster kind of like franchises that they can develop. And, you know, I'm curious to see which one of these really stick. You know, I feel like they've been able to do it TV wise. You know, you got Stranger Things and, you know, they've had a few different series that have really taken off and you've watched them for multiple seasons. But I feel like they haven't been able to launch like a movie franchise yet that has become like ingrained in our culture to where like we're like itching for the sequel, like, and breaking it down, debating what's going to be in it. Like, I feel like that's the level, that next level for them. And I'm curious to see, is it Army of the Dead or, you know, or is it something else? Like, I'm curious to see when they get there. What that is.
Awesome. Sure. Very, very awesome. Eric, thank you so much for being here. This was so much fun talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, guys.
Very informative.
And we'll do it again. Definitely, man.
Yeah, it was an absolute fun time.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Have fun at the movies and tweet at me at Erik Davis and let me know what you're seeing and what you're liking. And I always like to hear about that. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Eric. Thank you so much, man.
You got it. Take care, guys. Have a good one.
Sir. You too.
Erik Davis, you guys, managing editor of Fandango. Dude, he's a cool guy, man.
He's awesome.
I want to go see a movie with him.
To him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was really cool to listen to. And, you know, some of the things that we talked about was actually really cool. And, you know, I've heard some feedback lately from other people that, you know, that the way that Army of the Dead was shot was, you know, they didn't like how it was shot. The lenses that he was using.
Lenses,
Yeah, but I actually liked it. In the theater, I thought it looked really, really good.
It did.
Inspire.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I saw a lot of complaints about that. And then literally a couple hours later, I went with my wife to play volleyball with some friends. And I couldn't wear my glasses. I don't have any contacts. And I'm very nearsighted. So like when I took those off, that happened actually once. Not gonna lie. We played against an All-American volleyball player and I got drilled. But anyway, like,
where's the video? Where's the video?
I know we.
But everything clear to me, of course, is clear. Everything far away is blurry. So like it kind of plays on the idea of something being in focus, of course, depth of field and everything. So like it shows you a perspective of seeing things, and I don't understand how it can hurt people's eyes. Like it's different, yes, but like people saying, "Oh, it hurt my eyes. It was a headache to watch." Like, come on, grow some thick skin.
Yeah, it's like really, come on now. I thought the theater looked great.
It did.
Just want to complain about
something to complain.
Yeah, something to complain about. Yeah,
and then people defending the guard at the encampment. Like people like saying like, "Oh, the favorite characters." It's like what?
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. People were saying like, it was another example of people trying to defend scumbags in Zack Snyder's movies. Like, yeah, this person didn't deserve that. It's like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
He literally put his hand on old girl's cheeks in Man of Steel, and they're like, "Does his truck deserve that type of?" He sexually assaulted somebody. What do you think? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And guys, actually, you want to talk about footage of Dawson volleyball? I actually have it right here. You guys want to see it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we need to. I think we need to.
Here it is, right here. Here it is, right here.
Oh man. Oh,
the mom of the pool.
that was Lindsay. That was Lindsay. Oh my god, my baby!
So I didn't get hit in the face. I didn't get hit in the face. I got hit like right in the side.
Oh man. Yo, that scene in that movie is so funny though.
Oh god.
Yo, dude.
It goes from bad to worse. You're like, oh god.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap things up for us here on the 4Nerds. Next week, we have a spectacular guest coming on. None other than Samantha Wynn from Army of the Dead will be here with us in studio, talking about Army of the Dead, talking about Man of Steel, talking about her work with Zack Snyder and her work on
Snow Steam Iron.
Snow Steam Iron. Yeah, why she had to die, because she had a badass role and a badass character and a badass scene in Army of the Dead. So definitely check that out. That'll be happening next week right here on the 4Nerds. What's up, Mom? And there you go. Yeah, she's excited as well, man. She's excited. So, guys, definitely smash that like button and hit the subscribe with the bell notification button, because we are going live every single week with a new guest. And
yes,
guys, this was a lot of fun. And Eric's a cool guy. His movie knowledge is pretty vast, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Eric. I appreciate you coming on the show, dog. Come back anytime.
Anytime.
It was great. Yeah. It was great. We should have him back on to talk about Quiet Place 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. And as we leave, as we end this show, I just want to end the show on a note with a couple of messages. One from Zack Snyder.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
And one for our good friend Ryan.
Yeah, I'm glad you called. Ryan is being a little bitch again.